2022. Woo! Where do I start? I wanted to make this video. I had the idea of making this video as soon as I heard about the tragic loss of DJ Twitch. I felt like doing like a tribute video to him, but then I was like, his death seems like it's bigger than just him. I decided that I wanted to kind of create more of a conversation rather than just like a tribute video, because there are already thousands of videos pouring out about his life and things like that I think speak so much better to his essence than anything I could ever say, having never met him before. I just kind of want to connect the dots between these three people: Cheslie Kryst, Will Smith, and DJ Twitch. Okay, so I think I want to start with Cheslie Kryst, and before I get started with any of this, I'm kind of wanting to connect the dots here, and I'm hoping that we can do that together. So I'm not an expert, I'm just a viewer, I'm like a fan of these individuals, and I want to talk about the collective conversation. I want to talk about how their mental health has affected my mental health. So if you can, bear with me and let's get into it, shall we? I first heard about the death of Cheslie Kryst on January 30th, 2022. And she's someone who I thought had it all together, that she had the perfect career, you know, working as a TV news reporter in entertainment, talking to all the biggest stars in Hollywood. She was beautiful. She won Miss USA in 2019. She had this long, gorgeous hair. That's all I remember was like her hair. I want that hair. Her hair is beautiful. She had this stunning personality to go with it, and she was just wicked smart. I would watch some of her interviews on YouTube, and just to see her candor with the interviewers and just her spot on answers and reactions, she would just keep up. She would keep up. There would be no like lagging or anything. She would just know how to answer the questions, and the way she handled the press during like the Black Lives Matter movement, and how she talked to the press during that time. It was just so inspiring. And she was also in Colin Kaepernick's documentary or movie, biography, something like that, on Netflix. So yeah, in my mind, she was one of those. She was that girl. She was one of those girls. Devastated by her death. And one of the things that her death taught me is don't judge a book by its cover. So by that I mean, you can see someone, we see people all the time who have it all put together, like the Kim Kardashians, the Beyoncés, the Cheslie Kryst, okay? So for me, she was that person. I would have never thought in a million years that she was having issues with her mental health, because, I don't know, it's gonna sound so shallow, but it's like, pretty people have everything. Like they why are you complaining me? I don't get seats. But it was kind of naive of me to think because you're beautiful and you won Miss USA, you've won top pageants, top awards, you've done interviews, that your life is perfect too, your life is beautiful too. No. Quite the opposite, actually. So it taught me not to judge a book by its cover, and to look beyond what people look like and actually get to know them for who they are, for how their heart is, rather than how their face looks. Right? Okay, moving on to the incident that we all have probably seen on television. Will Smith at the Oscars slapping Chris Rock. My initial knee-jerk reaction was, wow, Will Smith just slapped that man in the face. Would you look at that? It was kind of like, it's kind of like looking at the sun, kind of the situation reminded me of like looking at the sun and then during like an eclipse or something, and it's like, look at the moon covering the sun, look at that. It's like a very rare occurrence that only happens like once a year, a few times a year or something like that. It just seemed like a rare thing, like seeing a man in his human element. So with that situation of him going on stage and slapping a comedian on national television, a black man hitting another black man. I wrote down that you never know what people are going through. And I actually watched his interview with Trevor Noah. It was a fantastic interview that Trevor did on The Daily Show with Will Smith. And he said this himself, like, you never know what people are going through. And it was so true. Those words are completely true, because actors and people, stars that we look up to, are also human beings, and they're going through their own drama and stuff. They're going through their own drama and stuff that we will never understand and not always have the opportunity to see. So seeing that moment while a lot of people were clowning him and laughing at him and bashing him for his behavior, that was an eye-opening moment. And I was witnessing a human moment. Like, in the midst of the chaos that was happening at the Oscars that night, I still saw a very human side of Will Smith that I appreciate him. I don't know if that came out right, but I feel like we saw his human side. Coming to December, we have the suicide of DJ Twitch. So this one was a little more difficult, and I feel more nuanced to talk about, because anytime I had watched The Ellen Show or seen Twitch on TV, mostly The Ellen Show, which is where I'm mostly familiar with him, he always had a smile on his face, and seeing him dance, he always had a smile on his face, and seeing him dance at the beginning of every show, every episode of Ellen's Show, made me smile and made me really happy. If I had ever gotten the chance to be in the Ellen studio audience, I would have loved to see him dance in person. But just someone who is like that cliche term of like someone who lights up every room they walk into. I think of DJ Twitch as being one of those people. So when I first heard the news of his passing, I didn't believe it at first. I thought it was fake news, and then I went on Google and it was like confirmed and everything. I was just like, what's happening to the world? Like, what mask are we living under? Like, what's happening? So the main thing that I wrote down with my takeaways from his death, his untimely death, is that people can and will surprise you and will disappoint you. Let me repeat that again. People can and will surprise you and disappoint you. And by that, I want to clarify what I mean by surprise you and disappoint you. By surprise you, I mean you don't really know what people are capable of until you know what they're capable of. Like, in terms of DJ Twitch's death, I was very surprised, and I personally was surprised. I don't think I really fell into like the disappointed category, more so surprised. But when you have friends that are always happy or always there for you or always supportive, we tend to get comfortable with thinking that they're always going to be that supportive person. They're always going to be that happy person. They're always going to be there until they're not. And so that's kind of where it gets confusing, because nothing happens usually until something happens. And I hate that it has to get to those extreme levels before we actually look at people. So I remember shortly after Cheslie Kryst's death, I remember going on LinkedIn and I had wrote an article for my blog about her, and I just remember thinking that we don't see the stars until it gets dark, or we don't really see how bright the stars shine until it gets dark. And I think that can apply to each individual whom I've mentioned. There are several more out there, but these are the main three that I want to focus on. And I felt like we didn't really see their light, or didn't see them for who they were until it got really dark. And for some, it was very extreme, like taking their own lives. And the other one, it was like someone acting out of character or in a very erratic way that they wouldn't normally act. We shouldn't normalize these behaviors like, oh yeah, Will Smith act up on an Oscars, like on to the next. Or like, oh, another star lost. That's sad. Well, let's keep going. Like, no, I actually want to stop and dissect their lives for a moment, because I feel really sad about what they may have been going through shortly before they passed. Yeah, while it was very strange and difficult to see these things happening on the news this year. I definitely think it speaks to a more collective feeling of Black mental health in America, and how we usually have a tendency to sweep our concerns and our true feelings under the rug, whether that be in corporate America, in the school system. Okay, so my closing remarks are that the one word that comes to mind when I tie each of these individuals' lives and their names together and their stories and their journeys is the word dissatisfaction. And you're probably like, well, it's so obvious they were dissatisfied, Victoria, can't you tell? No, but seriously, it feels like this word dissatisfaction can also be tied to more of the collective attitudes of Black people in America and how misunderstood we feel, and that you have to put on a mask, or feeling like you have to put on a front in order for people to understand you, because they won't understand the real you. But I think the term dissatisfaction with society as a whole, and how we're not able, or we feel we're not able to really truly be our true authentic selves with other people and with society, for fear of judgment or retaliation, or that our reputations will be tarnished in some way, or that we'll be seen as weak. Yeah, those are just my thoughts about this year and how 2022 has shaped my views on Black mental health. And this is obviously at, a level of that I compare 3 prominent individuals. It can, I think for me personally, I definitely can relate to the dissatisfaction part of experiencing some rejection this year and feeling like I'm in my 20s, right? So, there's a certain pressure in your 20s to sort of perform or be at a level where everyone else is, and that can lead to comparison. And if you're not there yet, feeling disappointment. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and that everyone has their own path that they have to walk in life, whether we understand it or not. And yeah, I feel for each of the families that were affected by these deaths by suicide, Cheslie Kryst family and Twitch's family. My heart definitely goes out to them, especially during this holiday season. So you guys, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think of this sort of psychoanalysis, if you will, and if you have any thoughts regarding these 3 individuals, or just your thoughts about Black mental health in 2022. What were some things that you observed? I would love to know. Definitely let me know. And yeah, that is all for today's video, because I can't think of anything else. My mind is blank. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to be a kind person. Sincerely. Thank you guys. Happy holidays. Bye.